This lesson deals with Supplemental Problem 5.5. You can find this problem in the course ebook in the Chapter 5 Supplemental Problems on page 5. Given this circuit of capacitors, which we call a ladder circuit because it looks like the rungs of a ladder, could you find the equivalent capacitance looking into these terminals by combining capacitors in series and in parallel? It's shown in the course notes that when we have capacitors in series, the equivalent capacitance is 1 over the sum of 1 over the capacitances. Now that was the same kind of a formula we had for resistors in parallel, just replacing the symbol R by C. If you have two capacitors in series, you could just take the product over the sum as a shortcut quick formula. So let's do that. The product over the sum of two equal components will be equal to half the value. Product of these two divided by the sum of the two is equal to 3 microfarads. Now all that is in parallel with 5 microfarads. So C2 is going to be 5 microfarads plus the equivalent of these two in series. 5 microfarads plus 3 microfarads. That's what this is equal to. That 8 microfarads is in series with 24 microfarads. So we could take the product over the sum, 24 micro times 8 micro over 24 micro plus 8 micro. And that turns out to be equal to 6 microfarads. The capacitance C3 is all of this looking back into our circuit. Now that 6 microfarads is in parallel with 3 microfarads. Capacitors in parallel just add, so it's going to be 3 micro plus 6 micro is 9 microfarads. C4 is 9 microfarads. Now that's in series with 72 microfarads, so we'll take the product over the sum. 72 micro times 9 micro over 72 micro plus 9 micro. That turns out to be 8 microfarads. C5 is 8 microfarads, and that's the equivalent capacitance looking back into the circuit that way. Now that 8 microfarads is in parallel with 2 microfarads. That's going to give me 10 microfarads. That's going to be C6, looking back into my circuit. And lastly, that 10 microfarads is in series with 15. So we'll take the product over the sum, 15 micro times the equivalent of 10 microfarads looking back over 15 micro plus 10 micro. That turns out to be 6 microfarads, and that's C equivalent. The work is shown below here. C1 was the product over the sum, that was 3 microfarads. C2 was the sum, which was 8 microfarads. C3 was a product over the sum, which was 6 microfarads. C4 was a sum, which was 9 microfarads. C5 was a product over a sum, that was 8 microfarads. C6 was a sum, that was 10 microfarads. And then lastly, C equivalent was a product over a sum, and that was 6 microfarads. And this is Supplemental Problem 5.5.